What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. It's over, man. It is officially over. It's finished. The NFL draft, 2025 NFL draft is complete. 7 rounds in the books. All of the people in here in the chat, appreciate you guys. Kevin, see you in here. 6 rings. He says Pats are back. Roll, what up? Everybody, appreciate you being here, hanging out with us tonight. Now, I will say, today we're going to kind of go through those 4 rounds that we had here today. Rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7, day 3. If you guys were with us earlier in the week, we were streaming the first round and the second and third round. Anybody who came in, hung out with us, chilled, talked some football, watched it. Appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Really meant a lot to us. There was a period of time there through the second and third round and in the first round where we had like 200 plus people across all platforms. Really does mean a lot to me, man. I'm just a kid from Vegas, and I appreciate you guys, tapping into to watch the fantasy football content. Now, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Kyle says Chase Brown is saved. Definitely a big winner. He says, I need your thoughts on the Giants backfield. We'll talk about it. And Roll says Hampton over Genty. Can't agree, but we'll talk about all of it. I think first and foremost, we will go into the recap of rounds 4, 5, 6, 7. And then after we recap the rounds, I'm going to show you guys my top 50 rookie rankings right now, how I'm going to be drafting these players in those rookie drafts that are already starting, maybe coming up here very soon, very shortly. And I know mine are starting on Monday, but I've seen some of the people in the Discord already have these players on their team. So we'll hop right into it, man. Really kicking it off in round 4. Tennessee Titans were on the clock. They go and get Chamir DK. Then Byshell, Tootin, Cam Scatterbo come off the board. It felt like, after the first 3 picks, we were going to have ourselves a little bit of a day because we had a lot of the running backs coming off early. Now, Tootin landing with the Jaguars, a little bit frustrating for anybody that has Travis Etienne on the roster. If you had Tank Bigsby, you might be frustrated. Scatterbo obviously is going to frustrate some people who have Tyrone Tracy. I was worried about Tracy, trying to sell Tracy this offseason. Couldn't get him sold everywhere. Scatterbo was the guy I was worried about after his top 30 visits there in New York. But other than that, the 4th round, we did have some other guys, not anybody super fantasy football relevant for the most part. Obviously, there's going to be guys here that are fantasy football relevant. But Dante Thornton Jr. goes to the Raiders. Arian Smith to the Jets. They also had Trevor Etienne. This is Travis's little brother. Go to the Carolina Panthers. Woody Marks to the Texans. Jaquez Hunter to the Rams, which is interesting to me. I'm not going to lie. I kind of like Jaquez here with the Rams. He's a player that was on my radar, and if he got in the right landing spot, it was going to be somebody that I was definitely going to shoot some late round dart throws on. And landing with the Rams, I know Kyron Williams is there. I know they drafted Blake Corum last year, but this is a coaching staff that knows how to draft. And it kind of just gave me, I think, confirmation bias here. So Gunnar Helm goes to the Titans. Dylan Sampson lands in Cleveland, kind of a head scratcher to me because I was really excited about Dylan Sampson, and he goes to backup. I'm assuming backup Quinshon Judkins, who they drafted yesterday, and then they draft Dylan Sampson today. Doubled up on running backs in the draft. They doubled up on quarterbacks in the draft. We'll talk about that one later too as well. Jalen Lane to the Commanders. All of this, Jalen Royals fell to the Kansas City Chiefs. Did not expect him to be here on day 3. He lands in Kansas City. Solid pick for them. What else we got here? Roll says Ollie Gordon's still solid. Isaiah says my draft is tomorrow. Need rookie rankings for a 10-team league. I got you. Stay tuned. It's going to be right after we rehab this. Kyle says Trevor Etienne surely doesn't affect Chuba, right? He's not a major pain in the ass for Chuba, but he's going to be involved, and I think it's more so for me. Jonathan Brooks might be cooked, man. It might be done. A-Rod says, is Travis Hunter the automatic 101 in IDP leagues? Absolutely in IDP. Dan says, I thought Restrepo and Isaiah Bond would have been drafted. What's your thoughts on that? Restrepo signed as a UDFA with Cam Ward there for the Titans, so they were united there. Thought he could have got drafted as well. Bond didn't think he was going to get drafted with the off-the-field issues. There's definitely some off-the-field stuff that kept him from being drafted, and rightfully so. If you know what that is, it's not great. It's pretty serious. But we'll see. Bond, maybe if he lands as a free agent somewhere, he's worth like a UDFA pickup in the Dynasty leagues and stuff like that. But John says, what up? CE says competitive or Cleveland drafted like the guy ripping shots of the rookie draft. Yeah, Cleveland, they did some questionable things, in my opinion. Maynor lands with the Tennessee Titans in the 4th round. I thought this is interesting. He could be the X wide receiver there for Cam Ward long term, in my opinion. Jordan Watkins with the 49ers lands there. Let's go to the 5th round. I'm speeding through this, just so you guys know, I'm speeding through this a little bit because we're going to talk about all of these rookies once we get to my rankings. I just kind of want to lay the land for you guys if you missed today. Sanders goes in the 5th round. The slide finally stops. He goes to the Cleveland Browns after they used the 3rd round pick on Dylan Gabriel yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. I think Sanders is more talented than Dylan Gabriel, even though the draft capital says that they like Dylan Gabriel more. For your rookie drafts, I think I would rather go Sanders over Gabriel if you're making that decision. Jordan James goes to the 49ers. You thought Kyle Shanahan was going to sit out of this running back class? Hell no. He goes to the 49ers there. Jaden Blue to the Cowboys. DJ Giddens to the Colts to back up Jonathan Taylor. A couple other guys in this round as well. We had Keandre Lambert Smith go to the Chargers. Mitchell Evans go to the Panthers. Oronde Gadsden, sneaky tight end. Maybe not super sneaky at this point, but definitely worthy of a dart throw later in drafts here for the Chargers. Torrey Horton, a player that I really liked in the pre-draft process, goes to the Seahawks. I don't love the draft capital, but I'm trusting the prospect, and I think the landing spot has a need for this specific type of player. What else do we have here? Jackson Hawes, not super important. He's a blocking tight end. And then Robbie Oots, I think that's how you say his name, goes to the Seahawks, but they drafted Elijah Arroyo yesterday, so I don't expect that to really be anything super important there. Going to the 6th round, this is, obviously we're in dart throw territory for the most part. We did have Ollie Gordon go to the Miami Dolphins. I think it's interesting, not super sold on it because they still have Jalen Wright there. Obviously, Devon Achane is the guy right now. But Ollie Gordon is interesting, I think, in this system. Kyle McCord to back up Jalen Hurts. Devin Neal to the Saints is very interesting, in my opinion, with Kamara being a little bit older and the contract being a situation here later. Another very interesting player would be Will Howard here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, right now, the quarterback is Mason Rudolph. I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, but even if it is Aaron Rodgers, it's not a bad spot for Will Howard to sit there for a year and learn and maybe be the guy after Aaron Rodgers is gone, or maybe he just gets it right now if they don't get Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see about that, but I'm very interested in Will Howard. I liked him a lot in the pre-draft process. He was my QB 5, I think, in my pre-draft rankings behind Milroe and Sanders. Obviously, Dart and Ward were up there as well, but I like Howard, man. I think that's interesting. Leonard goes to the Colts. It depends on how you feel about those guys over there, Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. I don't think Leonard is special by any means. Mullings lands with the Titans. We also had Taj Brooks, which to me, this is an interesting add as well. I like Taj Brooks as a sneaky kind of sleeper running back, and he gets in a spot here where I think he can spell a guy like Chase Brown. Now, we did say Chase Brown's a big winner. Chase Brown's not going to get, his lunch money taken by a guy like Taj Brooks, but Brooks could be very involved, not very involved, but Brooks could very much be involved in this offense this year, potentially. Other than that, Mertz, we don't care, backing up Stroud. We had Bartholomew that goes to the Vikings. It doesn't matter. What else? Jimmy Horn goes to the Panthers. Then we had a couple other picks here. Just some quarterbacks that we didn't even think were going to get drafted, end up getting drafted here. And then going on to the 7th round. We'll go to the 7th round. And I see this Cole. Cole says Devin Neal with Saints is a great spot. I agree. I think it's very interesting. Jaden Blue is the only running back drafted to the Cowboys. I would think he has to move up in rankings just based on only needing to compete with Miles and Javonte. They drafted somebody else, Dan. They got Phil Maffa, I think is his name as well, from Clemson. But yeah, I mean, Jaden Blue is going to go up rankings a little bit. We'll talk about him. He's in my top 50 for sure. We had Fedoni go to the Giants. Not super interested. I liked his profile, but I think Theo Johnson's a little bit of a better tight end right now. Damian Martinez, this is a guy who fell today that I did not expect to fall that far. He goes to the 7th round to the Seahawks. Kind of sucks because, you have Kenneth Walker there and you have Zach Charbonnet. Maybe they move one of those guys and Damian Martinez gets more run, but 7th round draft capital isn't a lot to get you excited about. I think this is a player that a lot of the community was excited about, and the NFL told us they didn't love him that much. So it's a little bit unfortunate. We lose probably out on Damian Martinez a little bit there. Same thing can be said for Brashard Smith for the most part. He does land with the Kansas City Chiefs, which I think makes him a late round dart throw that's somewhat interesting. Obviously, you know, they had a 7th round pick in Pacheco become relevant before in the past. Maybe Brashard Smith can do something, maybe not. Quinn Ewers in this Miami Dolphins landing spot is interesting as well. I don't have him in my top 50, but obviously Tua with his health is not the best. You also have Zach Wilson here, who you would compete with for QB2. Kyle Monogany, or Monogany, however you say his last name. I think he's interesting here in Chicago because he can be kind of that David Montgomery type of running back for Ben Johnson if they want to use DeAndre Swift as the lightning that Jahmyr Gibbs was. So I think he can find himself involved in a committee if they run the similar type of offense. I think he's worth a dart throw for sure. Tez Johnson gets drafted by the Buccaneers. LaQuinn Allen to the Jaguars. Again, they drafted another running back, so Etienne and Tank Bigsby, it's interesting there. Ricky White to the Seahawks. Phil Maffa is the one that I was talking about to the Cowboys. Caden Prather to the Bills. And then outside of this, man, I don't think there's really anybody super fantasy relevant. This Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is interesting. They needed a running back in this backfield. He didn't play a lot in college. He had some eligibility concerns, but yeah, Bucky Brooks was very excited about this draft pick, said it was very sneaky. So I'm going to be diving a little bit more into Ja'Cory. Didn't watch a ton of his tape in the pre-draft process, and to be honest, didn't know much about him, but he just barely snuck into the NFL draft, and Bucky Brooks was really interested. What do we see? He says Kyle Manungai. All right, there you go. Other than that, though, I don't think there's really anybody else that got drafted here that we're going to be paying attention to. So let's take it to what everybody wants to see. Let's just go on over and let's start talking about these rookie rankings, because I have those for the folks at home. And this is what you guys really want to see, because we're talking about Dynasty Fantasy Football, those Dynasty Fantasy Football teams. Now, I have a rough outline as best as I can do for you guys right now with the NFL draft ending less than an hour ago. I have everything that you guys need for a top 50. I've tiered them out. I kind of have, you know, heights, weights, breakout age, next gen stats, prospect grades from Lance Zierlein, RAS scores, all these things for you to see. All of these were things that I had built together in my pre-draft sheets that I was kind of working on. So I pulled this all from all of these, taking into account things like draft capital, opportunity, how that translates based on that draft capital. So there's a lot of research and a lot of data that goes into this. But again, this is my personal rankings, and you guys can kind of do with this as you will. If you are members of the Discord, I'm going to get this into the Discord by the end of the evening. You guys will have access to these rankings, so you guys can use them for your rookie drafts as being members of that Discord. So if you're not in the Discord, make sure you go be a part of it, so you can have access to this sheet. In the future, this will probably be a service that you guys will buy, but for now it's free, and I hope you guys like it. But John says, is Trey Palmer a drop candidate now since the Bucs added 2 more wide receivers? I think he absolutely is, and he says looks fire. So here we go. Tier 1, I still have one guy only. It's Ashton Genty to me. Goes to the Las Vegas Raiders there, round 1, pick 6. Still think he's the RB1 in the class. Still the player that I would be locked in at if I have the 101. But he's the only player in that tier, and we don't really need to talk too much about him. But for me, there's become a clear top 5. So this tier 2 of players rounds out our top 5 players. The way I have it right now for superflex, tight end premium, full PPR type of formats, just standard, you know, superflex, tight end premium, I would go Cam Ward number 2. I think the quarterback position is still valuable. I would use Cam Ward as the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. He has the rushing upside. He has some of the arm talent. Is he a superstar talent level type of quarterback? No. I still think he's valuable in a super flex, so I would take him number 2. Overall, after him, I like the 2 wide receivers in Travis Hunter and Ted McMillan, and I like Omarion Hampton in this tier as well. Hampton's a player we said you might have to wait a little bit on early on, maybe not a full workload as a rookie, but he should be the guy there. Ted McMillan, I think, is going to be a stud there in Carolina, and I think Travis Hunter is going to be a stud too. They've talked about they want to use him offense first, defense second. They'll work him into the defensive side of the ball. So that's the way that I would be viewing this right now. Obviously, wide receiver 1, Hunter, wide receiver 2, Ted McMillan. And in this tier, the point of the tier is that if you guys feel like somebody fits your team's roster constructions, somebody is a preference in that tier, You can take anybody in this tier in any order that you want. I'm focusing on the tiers, not so much the rankings, but this is the way that I would rank them and tier them if it were me and I didn't have any needs on my roster. I was just drafting best player available. So that's kind of the way that I'd be looking at it. Ward, Hunter, McMillan, Hampton, and then Genty 101. That's my top 5 in rookie drafts. And those guys, I think if I have a top 5 pick, I'm not trading out of that. Unless I'm getting overpaid. I think these players are all going to be pretty significant fantasy football producers for us. Rob Gronkowski says, do I drop Jermaine Burton? I think he is probably droppable at this point. I don't know if he's going to translate. The off the field stuff feels like it's been too much for him. If you have roster space, just the upside alone, I probably would consider holding. But if you need to make roster space and you have somebody that you have to draft or somebody that you rather have on waivers, I'm not against dropping him at this point. Kyle also says, appreciate the she, Andrew, the GOAT. Appreciate you, Kyle. Gronk also says, what do I do with Kamani Vidal? I can leave him on my taxi squad for one more season. I'd probably leave him sitting on the taxi. It doesn't hurt to leave him sitting there, but he is going to be, he's going to be RB3 behind Hampton and Najee. And I think he's more of like a special teams guy, to be real. I don't think he's like a full-time workload type of guy. So if you think somebody's better in this draft class, you can get rid of him and put somebody else on the taxi. But let's go to our next tier, tier 3 here. This is going to be the tier of players that I think are all still going to be producers. I definitely like the way that their tape looked in college. I like the athletic profiles, the analytic profiles, all of that being considered. Again, 2-8, it feels very safe. It doesn't feel like a lot of these players are going to be bad players overall. So Trevion Henderson, I have him as my RB3 now. Had him RB2B. I have him dropped into a different tier now at this point with the New England Patriots. But the landing spot grew on me a little bit. I think he's going to be fine. Egbuka, the landing spot also grew on me a little bit as well. I think he's going to be a long-term difference maker for them. It may be a little bit of a slower start for Egbuka. So this is a player where over the last couple of years, we've had guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba, who took a little bit of time to start. Rome Odunze, who we thought could take a little bit of time to start or get into a full-time role. I think Egbuka will be the next guy. So if you don't want to be patient, maybe Egbuka is not the pick for you. But if you are okay being patient and taking talented players, Egbuka is definitely a fine pick here at this point. John says, is Hunter playing primarily wide receiver? They said they're going to start him on offense first as a primary offensive player, and then they're going to add defensive reps to him. So it seems like they're going to be focusing on the offensive side of the ball. I wouldn't be too worried. Isaiah says, is Malik Washington a drop? No, I would not be dropping him yet. Is Marvin Mims a drop? I don't think I'm dropping him either. It depends on your league though. I mean, drops in league roster size and stuff like that. Like, I'm thinking from a deeper league, you're not dropping Marvin, you're not dropping Malik, but it depends. I mean, how many roster spots do you have here, Isaiah? Maybe that changes my answer. Or how many bench spots do you have? Let's go to the next tier, though. I didn't talk about Judkins. I think Judkins is going to still be a very, very good player. I talked about how they added Dylan Sampson in the 4th round. Doesn't matter too much to me. The thing with Dylan Sampson does feel like it's going to hurt Jerome Ford. So Jerome Ford feels like he kind of got his value shot today. But Judkins should still be their bell cow for the most part. And I think they'll run the wheels off of him. I think he'll still be a low-end RB1, maybe a high-end RB2 type of player for us on fantasy. Should I trade to get McMillan or Egbuka? Of the two players, I prefer Egbuka over McMillan. So if you had to pick between one of the two guys, I like Egbuka more. Let's go to the next tier, though. This is the tier where I'm kind of calling tier 4 here the get your guy tier, because I don't have strong conviction in how you want to rank these guys in this tier of I think 5 players here. I could make an argument that Matthew Golden is the first guy off the board. I could make an argument that Dart is the first guy off. Harvey is off the board. It doesn't matter the way that you draft these players, the order of which you draft those 5 guys, but this tier is get your guy territory. So I like Warren and I like Dart here. Warren's still my tight end 1 in the class, despite Loveland getting that draft capital above him a little bit. Dart, to me, the best way to describe what Jackson Dart can be, he's a toolsy quarterback in a situation that has Malik Neighbors, obviously, as a wide receiver in this room, it feels like the great value version of what Michael Penix was last year from a draft standpoint of you can add him onto your roster in the late first, the early second, and over time his value is going to increase as he gets closer and closer to becoming the starter for the New York Giants, because he will eventually get reps as the starter for the New York Giants. Is it a year from now, 2 years from now? Could it be in week 5? Any of those are in the range of outcomes, but eventually his value is going to increase. It just feels like a very safe value insulation type of asset for Jackson Dart. So I'm very comfortable drafting him. And then if you don't like the player, you can flip him for more than you spent to draft him, probably down the road once he becomes a starter. Isaiah says 10 bench spots, 10-man league, 8 starts. Yeah, you're definitely dropping those guys in that shallow of a format then. So Washington is a drop for you, and Marvin Mims is a drop for you. But yeah, that's how I feel about Dart. Harvey's a player that I liked in the pre-draft process. When you look at his, I need to actually just freeze this row real quick so you guys can see that as we follow it down. But Harvey's a player that I liked. Obviously, you see, his prospect grade wasn't great from Daniel Jeremiah, but at the end of the day, that's just one person's opinion. The next gen stats are good. The RAS score was good. The draft capital is fantastic. The landing spot is elite. This was my favorite landing spot for any rookie running back in all of fantasy this year. So I'm in, man. I'm in on RJ Harvey. I'm down to take him in the first round of rookie drafts, top 10, top 11, top 12 type of pick. I'm all for it. Harvey's my RB5 in the class now after it's all said and done. He jumped Scatabo. He jumped Dylan Sampson. He jumped Caleb Johnson. I'm in on Harvey, man. I think it's a great spot for him, and I think you guys should probably be drafting him in the late first as well. Gronk says, what does it mean, or what does this mean for Tyrone Tracy? We'll get to Tracy here once we get to Scatabo, but I think they're both probably going to be involved. Kyle says, where do you think Jack Besh fits in the Raiders? Wide receiver 2? I think so. We'll get to him as well, too, but I think he is going to be their wide receiver, too. But Colston Loveland, like I said, at tight end, he's probably a player that is going to have some value. This feels like a position that isn't a premium position, so we probably don't like spending a ton of high draft capital on it. And the only other argument that I would have for Loveland underneath a guy like Tyler Warren still is the pre-draft evaluation. I had Warren is a better player. And Colston Loveland, despite landing with Ben Johnson here, there is a lot of mouths to feed here in Chicago. You're going to have DJ Moore. You're going to have DeAndre Swift. You're going to have Cole Kmet, who's still in that tight end room. Luther Burden, Rome Odunze. There's a ton of mouths to feed here. So is Loveland going to be a huge difference maker for fantasy football? I don't know, because I don't know if he's going to see the volume that you need to be a big difference maker. A guy like Tyler Warren, to me, he could go in and be the number 2, number 3 receiving option on that roster, whereas Loveland might be the 4th or 5th receiving option on this roster if you really want to think about it in layman's terms. But overall, this is still a player that I have as like a fringe first-round talent, and I'm probably taking him still in the first round in those tight end premium leagues. But he's in the same type of range with like a guy in Matthew Golden. Now, Isaiah says, should Rome Troopers get Burden if he's in the second round? I wouldn't double up on... I wouldn't feel the need to double up on them. I think if you have them in similar tiers, I would still be... Well, I have them in similar tiers. I would take Caleb Johnson over Burden in the second. Even if it was between the two guys, Jaden Higgins and Luther Burden, and I had Rome Odunze on my roster, I might just take Jaden Higgins. So I think that's why I like to look at it in the tiers. It's going to come down to your team construction, but I don't know if you need both Chicago Bears wide receivers there. Do I trade away Odunze now or hold? I think you probably still hold him. It depends on what you can get, though. If people are, still viewing Odunze is a top 12, top 15 type of dynasty wide receiver, I'm okay to sell at that price. But if they're not valuing him as a top 15 guy, I'm probably holding and seeing what we got, because I think they do still feature Rome in this offense. But let's go to Matthew Golden, first round wide receiver. I didn't think he was a first round type of talent. I think he was a player that was more a second round receiver that was going to get drafted highly because there was a lack of wide receiver talent in this class. And I think that's kind of the way that it went. He goes to the Green Bay Packers. Should slot in there as one of their starting guys. Is he going to be the true number one? I don't know. But it's going to be a mix. You know, they're still going to spread the ball around. Golden should be fine. I have him as the wide receiver 4 in this class. He jumped Burden for me. Pre-draft rankings, I had Golden 5 and Burden 4. He jumped him for me just based off of the mouths to feed there in Chicago. But overall, and the draft capital too, that as well. But Golden's the last player in that tier for me. Still somebody I think you can draft. They're in the early second for you. That is still going to be a player that you can hope becomes a difference maker for you. Now, tier 5 is the tier, kind of the last tier, I will admit, where I feel like you're getting guys that can come in and be playmakers for your fantasy football rosters year one, and you can confidently project that with decent floors. Caleb Johnson going there in the 3rd round to the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the better landing spots. I think he's going to he and Jalen Warren are going to be an RBBC. I think they're going to keep, the 1-2 punch. Caleb Johnson should be the better running back of the two. I like him there. Early 2nd round type of guy, not a bad investment for your teams. 1 second. Now, a player like Luther Burden, we talked about it. This is a player where if you have Luther Burden and you don't have anybody in that Bears offense, you can still draft him. I think he's a top 15 player in this draft. I'm not super worried about Burden, but like I said, it's going to be a lot of mouths to feed, and it's going to be hard to kind of know which guys are going to go off when. It's going to be inconsistent there in Chicago. Now, Jaden Higgins is the last player in this tier to me. He got that early day 2 draft, round 2 draft capital. He went round 2, pick 34 to the Texans. Obviously, they lose Stephon Diggs. They get Tank Dell, who's hurt, not going to play this year. Christian Kirk comes in to play the slot. They also drafted Jalen Knoll, who is college teammates with Jaden Higgins. But Jaden Higgins should play opposite a guy like Nico Collins. Should still be a pretty good playmaker in this offense with CJ Stroud. They still need offensive line. I don't know what they're going to do, but they got to figure that one out. Going into my tier 6, man, I think Trey Harris, Scatabo, Byshell Tootin, all of those guys, Jack Besh, and Jalen Milroe in that tier 6 for me. These are guys that are more like high upside, dart throw type of territory for me for the most part. Harris can be a big play guy in this offense. Scatabo, I think he's going to be the 1A potentially in this backfield with Tyrone Tracy, but it's going to be a committee approach. I don't think Scatabo's the bell cow. I think it's a committee. Tootin should be a 1A, 1B in this backfield with whoever it's going to be in Jacksonville, but Liam Cohen runs multiple running backs, and he's probably going to move one of these running backs here before the NFL season starts. I think it's going to be Tootin and somebody. Maybe it's Tootin and LaQuint Allen. Maybe it's Tootin and Tank Bigsby. Somebody's getting moved. It doesn't feel like the backfield they have right now is going to be the backfield that they go into the season with, but Tootin should be fine here as a pick from the new regime. Besh, I think, will be the wide receiver 2 in this offense for Geno Smith. Should be a good PPR option. Maybe a higher floor, maybe lower ceiling type of guy. And Jalen Milroe's like a dart throw that I'm definitely willing to take because of the rushing upside alone. 3rd round draft capital. Sam Darnold, not necessarily being the guy that gives you the most confidence in the NFL right now. And them trading away Sam Howell. I think Milroe, pick 21, that late in the 2nd round, I'm okay to take the quarterback shot there because kind of like what I said with Jackson Dart, where you have a player that you draft. If Jalen Milroe gets starting reps, his value is going to increase immediately, very, very quickly because of the rushing upside. CE says, Caleb Johnson, 1st and 2nd down, but no catches. Should get the goal line work, though. Agreed. Like I said, I think he's going to be in that committee there with Warren. And then John says, you planning on making any draft recap / ranking videos? Talking about ones like this? This video that's a draft recap and a rankings video? No, I'm playing. But I am going to do later this week official, formal top 10 wide receivers in the rookie class and top 10 running backs in the rookie class. Gronk says, Thoughts on trading away the 106 for the 2026 first? Should I ask for more than just one for one? I would rather make my selection at the 106, honestly. I mean, at the 106, like I said, you're getting into this tier here with Henderson, Egbuka, Judkins. I'm okay picking those guys, man. I don't think you need to trade out. If you do trade out, you could go 26 first plus more. But as it sits, I'm comfortable with Henderson, Egbuka, and Judkins. I'm definitely comfortable with that. What else? On the clock question here. Felix says, on the clock right now, and I got to pick between Dart and Cam Scatterboom at 204. Superflex, current quarterback room is Lamar and Geno. Running back room is currently Genty, Tracy. Can you guys please give me your opinion with the Giants running backs room? For me, Felix, I'll tell you what. I'm going with Jackson Dart there. I have Jackson Dart as my 10th overall player. I have Scatterbo as my 18th overall player. Tracy's still going to get run, but I would be going Jackson Dart there. I think he's the better play long term. You have to be patient with him, but his value is going to increase over the next little while. So I think you got to be patient. If you can be patient, Dart's definitely the better pick in my opinion. Rob says I also have the 101. Yeah, so you'll get Genty and you'll get Judkins or Egbuka or somebody. I think that's fine. I'd sit and take it. 102 or London? Interesting. I think that's going to come down to how you view, a guy like Travis Hunter or a guy like Ted McMillan. If you think that they can reach London levels, you can make the pick. But if you don't think that they can reach London levels, which is a low-end wide receiver one for fantasy, I think you can take the safe play and go London. But that's kind of the range that you're going to be looking at. Rob says, back to my question. What in return should I ask for on top of a 2026 first? If you're going 106 to next year, I would be trying to get... I might try until you're on the clock, because when you're on the clock in your rookie draft, it's going to be the most valuable. And I'd be trying to get the 2026 and a 2027 first. I'd be trying to get two futures down the road. Or like a 2026 first plus a player plus a second round pick. Like that's kind of the route that I'd be going. But I think on the clock, you might be able to get a 26 first and a 27 first as well. All right. Let's keep it moving. Like I said, we got 50 players to get through. Tier 7, it's kind of where I start losing my affinity for the class. I could make cases that everybody up through tier 6 can become fantasy relevant eventually. I think more likely than not, tier 5 is kind of where you stop feeling like the safety net is there. This is more upsides in tier 6. Tier 7 feels like I'm starting to lose a lot of that confidence that it's guaranteed by any means. Kyle Williams with the Patriots is interesting. Should be, on the field pretty early. They lack some wide receiver talent outside of Diggs there. He's still recovering from an injury. Kyle Williams could be Drake May's guy, and he's a pretty damn good prospect. It's just the draft capital didn't overexcite me any way, shape, or form. Jalen Noel, he fell. The draft capital wasn't what I expected for him either, but he lands with the Texans. Kind of feels like the Tank Dell replacement, I'll be honest. And maybe the Christian Kirk replacement after his contract is up next year. So maybe you're waiting on Jalen Noel, a sleeper maybe because of that in your rookie drafts, getting him at 23, but he's definitely a wait-and-see type of player. Mason Taylor, in a tight end premium, you can make the argument that he's worth it here, about 24 picks in, late second round. Dylan Sampson, like I said, should be involved with Judkins, but he's going to be the backup. Arroyo has some upside as the tight end there for Mike McDonald and that former Baltimore Ravens offense. Obviously, we've seen them use guys like Mark Andrews before. Having Arroyo there, he has some athleticism. The profile's pretty good. He's an interesting dart thrower at the tight end position. But I will say, when you get to like Mason and Arroyo, and then even guys later in the class like Terrence Ferguson and Harold Fannin and some of these other guys, like there's not a massive gap between them. So if you don't need the tight end or you don't feel super strong about any of these guys, I think you can do the wait and see approach and get somebody a little bit later in your drafts. Are there any good running backs that didn't get drafted? there's a few. We had like 20 something, 21, 22 running backs get drafted, so a lot of the guys did get drafted. But there's a few. I am going to be putting out an official video though on like UDFAs to target for your taxi squads here later this week, so that'll kind of be a part of that video. Smooth Criminal says, which side, 103, 109, 203, 209, or JSN, Jonathan Taylor, Fields, 12 by 10. I'm honestly going... I'm going the Jonathan Taylor, JSN, and Fields side, I think, and just taking that production there. I think JSN, you know, you make the argument here where it could be Hunter and McMillan. I think I prefer... They're going to be close to the same tier there. The 109, I think you can argue you just want Jonathan Taylor there. And then Fields is probably worth the 203 and the 209 by himself. So, yeah, I think there's definitely the argument to go to the production. Let's keep going. We got Sanders, like I said. Sanders, he got drafted in the 5th round. It's not ideal. The draft capital isn't great, but he sneaks into here still as my QB4 just because I do believe the NFL got the draft capital wrong. And maybe the talent will show itself. The QB room that he has there isn't the greatest competition. Dylan Gabriel is going to be maybe the stiffest competition that he has. Joe Flacco, an older guy. Kenny Pickett. Shador is going to have a shot. And I'm willing to take a shot on that in the 3rd round of my rookie drafts where he's at here at 27 for me. Gronk says, Andrew, how do you feel the draft went for the Vikes? I feel like it went fine. It wasn't like a splashy draft. There wasn't anything crazy, you know, that happened. We shored up the offensive line, got some, you know, depth at the wide receiver position, a couple other guys on the roster. Like, there wasn't a splashy pick, but they just kept getting depth, and they're just building depth on this roster to keep building around J.J. McCarthy, which I like. And I think Ty Felton will be a pretty decent wide receiver 3 for that team. It won't be super fantasy relevant because there's just, again, kind of like the Bears, there's too many mouths to feed there with Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson, but he should be fine. Let's go to tier 8. Tier 8 gets a little bit larger. I think I only have 9 tiers. Yeah, tier 8 gets larger here because the gap between these players is so minuscule to me that you could kind of pick any of them however you want. I have Jalen Royals, who went to the Kansas City Chiefs here. I think he's a player that I was higher on pre-draft. The NFL wasn't as high on him. Goes to Kansas City. Should play alongside a guy like Rice and Worthy. Should beat out whoever else is there right now. Juju Smith-Schuster, whoever you think it's going to be. Should be the wide receiver 3 for them, but that's not super important. But if Rashee Rice misses time, maybe his value increases and you can flip him down the road. Alec Imaner is a player that's going to go and be the long-term X, or could be the X wide receiver for Cam Ward. I think that's interesting. Also, there's going to be guys like Jaquez Hunter in there who can be an interesting asset. They talked very highly of him. Obviously, the Rams know how to pick some running backs, and Kyren Williams did have some fumbling issues last year. Could be coming up on a contract extension eventually if he doesn't get it. Maybe Hunter is interesting, but it's still a dart throw. Kyle says, sorry if I didn't hear, but when did you say the sheet would be available in the Discord? I'm going to try and get at least a screenshot of this whole sheet in here by the end of the night, Kyle. I'm going to try and get this, at least the top 50 rankings in here by the end of the night so you guys can have it. Devin Neal, very, very interesting landing spot to me. I think he can be fantasy football relevant pretty quickly. Obviously, Kamara is still going to be the guy, but we know that leash is not necessarily long as far as longevity goes for the Saints. They've got the contract there. They've rumored of moving on from him. This is a new regime that hasn't had him on the team in the past. Neal could be a guy that they look at, but overall 6th-round draft capital, just not super confident that those guys even pan out. They're dart throws in themselves, but it's interesting to say the least. Giddens, I think, is going to be a fine handcuff type of running back for Jonathan Taylor. Horton, I said, was interesting just because he's a little bit of a different wide receiver than they have there. JSN and Cooper Kupp more being closer line of the scrimmage. Slot type of guys, you can move Torrey Horton pretty much anywhere. Ferguson should be the tight end for the Rams long term. Higbee's getting older. This is an interesting spot. His RAS was pretty good. Overall, you know, has the measurables that you want to see. 2nd-round draft capital. I'm okay taking shots on him. Have him as my tight end 5. Harold Fannin for the Browns. You have David Njoku there, obviously, but Fannin, you know, can kind of be slotted outside as a wide receiver at times. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Like I said, the Browns had a very interesting draft. I don't love what they did, actually. It feels like they wasted a lot of picks just doing random shit, but I guess that's what the Browns do. Will Howard, I have, is an interesting player just because of, like I said, Pittsburgh's quarterback situation. Tyler Shuck, I don't like the player, man. I know a lot of people are going to see that second round draft capital and say, hey, you know, you have him way too low. Maybe I do, but I don't like the player. I don't believe he's going to be the long-term answer for the Saints. If he does, it's going to surprise me. The hit rates on a quarterback like Will Howard and a quarterback like Tyler Shuck, it's very minuscule. There's really no difference in the hit rates between like a second round quarterback and a sixth round. It sounds crazy to say it, but there really is no difference. It's pretty much first round quarterback or bust for the most part. So yeah, I'll just take the player that I think is more talented than Will Howard and has a better situation overall. But neither of these guys I'm like going out of my way to draft by any means. Gronk says, when is the best time to do a rookie draft? I hold all of my rookie drafts the Monday after the draft. So you know, we watched it all tonight. We have tomorrow to kind of get our things together, and then Monday we will start our rookie draft. So I like to go Monday after the draft. I think sometimes when people start it in the middle of the draft, you don't have all the information you need yet. It's kind of premature. And then I think there's no... If you wait longer, I don't think it's a bad thing. You know, I know some people that just wait till training camp to do the rookie draft, which I could not be that patient, but... it's not a bad thing, but I prefer to just do it right, you know, the Monday after the draft. What else do we have here that we haven't talked about? I guess we kind of got through all tier 8. Tier 9 is just kind of going to be the last round dart throws that you have, those 4th and 5th round picks, maybe if you want to make them. I'm not super confident in any of these guys based on the draft capital and the spots that they landed in. But ETN, he'll probably be the guy that maybe is Dowdle's replacement. Dowdle's on a 1-year deal, so maybe he gets to be the guy that is after Dowdle. Jaden Blue, I think he's more of a special teams type of guy, but their running back room is horrid, and he has some juice, so I'm interested in taking a shot on Jaden Blue if he's cheap. Jordan James, I'll take a 49ers running back any day of the week if you have a shot, because all of those guys end up being eventually fantasy relevant for a game or two, depending on who you got. But after that, I got Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon, to me, he's RB3, maybe 4 in this backfield today. Alexander Madison was signed in free agency. They still have Jalen Wright. Obviously, Devon Achane's there. But Gordon, he has a productive 2023 season. 2024 wasn't great. Maybe they can figure it out in Miami. But again, just a dart throw. Pat Bryant could maybe be a wide receiver in this offense long-term in the slot for Bo Nix. But third-round draft capital isn't great for wide receivers. We want to see them get drafted in the top 50. Isaac Tesla, not super interested overall either because Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra. Really, when you get to this point, I just don't feel like we need to talk about all of these guys. If you're taking interesting dart throws here, I think the interesting one is Taj Brooks. Like I said, he could be involved here with Chase Brown. Brashard Smith is an interesting dart throw to me. Kyle is interesting to me as well. And I think Gadsden is interesting as an athletic tight end here for the Chargers. But overall, those are kind of how the guys are being viewed right now. So, yeah, man. I mean, that's kind of it. Like I said, I wanted to get through, you know, the day 3 recap, show you guys how I'm viewing these players as top 50 players right now in my rookie drafts. Just been working on this all day. I felt like it was important to get you guys this information so you guys had it for your drafts. I'm going to put these in the Discord. I'll just put it in the announcements. Maybe I'll figure out a place to put it. I'm going to get a screenshot of this and I'll put it in there so you guys can have it. But other than that, I think that's all I wanted to do today. Don't need to spend a bunch of time talking about all the other stuff. We've talked about a lot this weekend. Gronk says, what video are you going to do next? What video am I going to do next? Let's see what's on the agenda. I I think my next video is, I'll just tell you the next couple of videos. I usually am planning out about a month at a time. So to finish out the month, tomorrow we're going to stream some rookie mock drafts. So we're going to do some rookie mock drafts in the Discord. I'm going to put the links in there so you guys can do them with me. We're going to stream that tomorrow night. We're going to do top 10 rookie running backs on Monday, top 10 rookie wide receivers on Wednesday, top 10 must-add taxi squad players, UDFAs, on Friday. Let's Talk Dynasty trade review show on Saturday, and then Monday, I'm going to show you guys how, the following Monday, not this upcoming Monday, the following Monday, a week from now, I'm going to show you guys how I spent all of my 2025 rookie picks and who I drafted on my teams and where I drafted them. So we'll go through all of that. Rob says, thanks for all the hard work, man. You make it look smooth. Appreciate you, man. And it really does mean a lot. So thank you for that. And Isaiah says, thoughts on Pat Bryant? I think he can be a slot wide receiver for Bo Nix. I'm not super sold because the draft capital is third round. The hit rates on third round wide receivers isn't fantastic, but I'd be willing to take a shot on him in that like fourth round, late third round, early fourth round type of range if you needed a wide receiver. But I don't think he's super special by any means, but he could have some value with Bo Nix. Their wide receiver room is pretty bad. And he says Clutch King. So appreciate you guys. Oh, Rob, I'm going to answer this one just because. Popeyes or Wingstop? I love Wingstop. Wingstop's going to be the pick for me. So I'll go Wingstop, lemon pepper, extra seasoning on the fries, by the way. But that's that, man. I'm going to drop this link in the Discord. I'm going to drop the top 50 rankings so you guys have them. But nothing else for you guys tonight. I'll see you on a stream tomorrow night in that Discord for some rookie mocks. Make sure you hit the like button. I can't speak, man. I've been speaking for days at this point. I got to go. You see how I put the lozenge in halfway through the stream because my throat's killing me. But hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one. Till then, peace out.